Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Why is my camera like this? To another edition of the It's like it tumbled just before. Hi, welcome to another live recording of the MrWarrenHayes show, and now it's the hardware that's looking goofy tonight. There we go. That's pretty good. That looks all right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes show. I, of course, am MrWarrenHayes, and today it is the third day of the month of June 2021, and we are going to be talking about professional wrestling for a little while, for at least 15 minutes. Bare minimum. Look, if you've been here before, I know you're saying to yourselves right now, and Warren, there is absolutely no way that you are going to do a 15-minute show, especially this week, because, geez, there's so much going on. Just so much going on. But I am happy to be here tonight. I am happy to be here once again, here recording live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes in front of a live crowd of very live people who are both live and alive. It's the double whammy. They're here and they're also cool. They're also living, breathing people. What am I talking about exactly? Hey, let me tell you, Robert Larry's here. How you doing, Robert? Kelly Torres is here as well. Good to see you, Kelly. We've got PhantomMark82, our boy Ben, who supplies a number of musics for the MrWarrenHayes show. If you want, you should absolutely check out his YouTube channel, which is linked in the description below. Please do, because Ben is a cool guy and he's talented. There's all sorts of great stuff that will happen to you once you get acquainted with his music. Trust me. Thank you for being here, Ben, once again this week. The Nick Nutter is here as well. Good to see you. Nick Flowman is here as well. Tim Trevor, my evening is awesome as well. We've also got Pete Davies who's joined us. Look at that. Look at this group. Fantastic crew of people watching live right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And hey, you know what? If you ever do want to join in on a live occasion, please do. 9 p.m. Eastern, Thursday nights on the dot. That's when I do it. youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And thank you very much for being here. And if you're watching live or on demand at your own accord, whatever you want, hey, just go right ahead and give the video a like, a thumbs up, because that kind of stuff YouTube really likes. So please go right ahead and do it. Like the video. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because the audio is available in podcast format on your favorite podcast app, a review, a like, a subscription, anything you can do to show some love, that is absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank everyone listening on your favorite, on podcast, on my favorite, your favorite podcast app. I appreciate it a great deal. Hey, there's also, another thing I'm involved in that, I kind of do over at belltobells.com. That is your women's wrestling wire. If you want to hear things about women's wrestling, you enjoy it, you want to go deeper, you want to get some cool features, not YouTube, www.belltobells.com. That's BELLTOBELLEES.com. And it just so happens that this week, I had the privilege to interview Maki Ito and Kamiyu in the lead up to their 6-man or 6 women in this situation, 6 women tag match at Cyber Fight Festival this weekend. Big show that is happening over in Japan. You've got people from Tokyo Joshi Pro. We're going to be there, which is why I spoke to Maki Ito and Kamiyu. You're going to have matches from DDT, from Noah. Like, it's a big festival-like atmosphere happening there. And that's happening this weekend. And I had the chance to speak to both of them. It was a really fun interview to do. Maki Ito confirmed me to be cute. She called me a cute shithead. And that is a badge of honor that I will carry with me until the very end of time. So check out that interview. That's on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/bell-to-bells. Or just go to the website. You get all those links there as well. Plus, you can also follow us on Twitter at bell-to-bells. I mean, I don't know what else you want. Everything is pretty much there. That's how you follow us. That's how you can stay in contact with us. And hey, if you want to stay in contact with me, but more importantly, with the great people that make up the Mr. Warren Hayes community. Again, I still think it's weird to use the word community, but it's really looking, it feels more and more like that, like every day, right? It just feels more and more like a community, and I really, really appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone who puts it in. You can join our Discord, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. Link is in the description. Go jump right in there, and you can continue these great conversations that we have here with some fantastic people. So please do come and join us on the Discord. And that's all. That's a fun time. And then on top of that, you can show some support for the Mr. Warren Hayes shows. There's some very, very simple ways, very, very simple things that you can do to support the Mr. Warren Hayes show. First of all, we have a comment streak going. Comments are super, super important. On top of the likes, the comments are really important for the YouTube algorithm, for them to realize, like, hey, okay, well, this video is, has a lot of interaction on it. Maybe we should push it a little more. So that kind of stuff really works. So we have a comment streak going on. We have a comment streak going on videos here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. We need 20 comments on the next 20 videos. 20 comments on the next 20 videos, and I will do a special reward. I have something in mind. I'm going to just double check one thing, and I think I have something cool as a video reward for when I hit 20, something pretty fun that I think everyone will enjoy. So that's coming out. So that's a real easy way to support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. You can also become a Patreon of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show at patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, or you can become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, which allows you then access to a bunch of emojis. If you like to come in live and hang out live, you get emotes, exclusive emotes that you can use right here. Plus, you get access to the post show, which happens right here on the channel, but for members only. And I open up, I take calls, live calls. We interact with the chat and on different wrestling subjects every week. And tonight, I want to hear your thoughts on Double or Nothing this week. And I'm going to talk about Double or Nothing, of course. I'm going to go blah, 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 Double or Nothing, blah, 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 Warren Hayes, nah, 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 nah. But at some point, I'd like to know what you guys think of Double or Nothing. So if you want to join us, become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, join the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord, and jump right in. You can join us via the chat. You can join us via voice calls. It'll be a good time. And if you're in the Discord, our moderation team will be there to help you out as well. It's going to be top notch. And you can also drop a super chat if you feel like it. And I will read your question or comment live and on the air. Well, let's see what we got here. Because we have more people jumping in. We have DGMC who's here. Good to see you. And Injection 2K, who is here as well, joining us tonight on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. So there's lots of stuff I feel like talking about tonight, so I'm gonna get to it. Let's go to it. The weekly wrestling inspection starts now. There we go. Before I actually get into the stuff, into the nitty gritty, right? I want to say hello to the Snokesman, the Snowman, or I think it's Snow, SNEAUX man. I think it's a play on words, right? Snowman. Yes, you are going to get all the takes. My God, all the takes. But I just want, there's been, and I mean, I'm going to talk about something which is really, really like a wrestling bubble thing. And I'm completely aware of it, but I still want to, I feel like I just want to talk really quickly on it, or as quickly as I can. There's been quite a few high profile content creators, podcasters out there who have been rather upfront with their dislike of Monday Night Raw recently, and that it's become extremely difficult to watch. And a lot of them are saying, well, some of them are saying we're not going to cover it anymore, or others are saying, well, we are going to adjust our schedule to not watch it live because we just can't put up with it live, kind of thing. So, I myself, and this was essentially, and it's caused some discussion. You have people on one side saying, well, of course, you shouldn't watch things that you don't like, and that's something that I completely concur with. A lot of people say, well, it's your job, you should cover it. Well, it depends on what level of podcasting you're doing. I enjoy doing this. I have a great time doing it. It's not a job by any sense of the imagination. I take it seriously, but this is not what I make a living out of. So, but my position on it, and especially tonight, like I'm not really going to talk about Raw this week because Raw was dreadful this week. I thought the main event was very good, but it was a carbon copy from last week. Like, Raw has too many problems right now, and I'm just like, I keep rehashing the same thing week after week, ultimately. So it's not even a question that I don't want to talk about it because I don't like it. It's I don't want to talk about it because I feel it's always the same thing. We're treading water. We're always talking about the same stuff over and over again. So tonight, I'm not nixing Raw. I've decided to sort of gloss over it tonight because I think there's far more interesting things to talk about than this week's edition of Monday Night Raw. But I'm not going to lie. It's an internal monologue that I've been having in regards to when I see, my peers, when I see guys like Steven Larson from Going in Raw, who come out and say and make a statement and say, you know what, guys, and especially they're on the West Coast, so they say, from 5 to 8 p.m. we've got other things to do on Monday night, so we're gonna watch this, in clip form the next day. We'll fast forward through this, but we've got other stuff to do, and I can't blame them. It's just when you see that kind of stuff, it sort of externalizes something that I've been struggling with for a while. Where I'm like, well, what do I do with Raw? And do I keep watching it? Because it is rough to watch. It is difficult. But the thing here is, I feel like I have to watch what the big leagues are doing, what the main national shows are doing, as much as possible, so they can really get the best ensemble view of what's happening. Where are the bright spots? Where are the lesser of them, and who's doing good and who's doing bad? Like, I feel if I just zero in on one thing, I'm going to be lacking in my overall capacity for critical analysis or judgment. If that makes sense. It's just like if I decided to only watch AEW, I think there's a part of anything that I like to talk about in wrestling that is dependent on what's going on elsewhere. What are the trends elsewhere? What's going on here? So I think it's part of a larger picture. But that's just me. And if anyone decides out there to not watch Raw and to cross it off and never talk about it on their shows, all the more power to them. That's fine. And this is where I am right now. And maybe in a couple of weeks I'll change. Maybe there'll be something that'll happen on a Monday night where I'm like, my God, man, this is the straw that's breaking the camel's back right here. Like, I'm done. I don't know yet. I'll see how things move forward. But as it stands right now, it's an interesting topic of conversation. It helps. It makes you think about what you want to cover as a wrestling content creator. What am I exactly? A pundit? An analyzer? I don't know. But whatever it is I'm doing, right? Whatever it is I'm doing, I'm doing it. I'm gonna keep Raw in my rotation. It's just, man, there's so much stuff going on this week. nothing of importance that happened on Raw, especially when you consider that the conclusion of the main event ended up with us getting Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre again at Hell in a Cell, which only compounds what I was talking to you guys about last week when I was speaking on Drew McIntyre fatigue. Anyway, I said I wouldn't talk about Raw all that much. I want to say hello to Dale Campbell. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. And Caleb is here. Good to see you, Caleb. Very, very nice to see you this evening, sir. All right. Let's start by talking about Double or Nothing. And I am going to be very, very upfront with you all tonight. Double or Nothing is going to take up a proper part of the show this evening, so you're forewarned. You're forewarned. I thought overall this was an extremely good wrestling show. I thought it was a very, very high tier, and I've got people. I had people ask me, like, I made podcast appearances. By the way, I'm going to be making a few podcasts. Excuse me, a few podcasts. Thank you. I'm going to be making a few podcast appearances over the next few days. So follow me on Twitter at MrWarrenHayes if you want to see where I'm dropping in and what I'm going to be doing. On top of everything, I'm going to be talking about some old school wrestling, King of the Ring 93, which is fantastic. So I'm excited about that. So, keep an eye on the Twitter channel for everything that I'm doing these days. So, okay, circling all the way back. We've got coming back to Double or Nothing, and people ask me, and on these podcasts, do you think that this is the best AEW pay-per-view they ever put on? And I was taken aback because I was like, man, AEW pay-per-views have always been extremely entertaining. Like I think their only real true misstep, like the one pay-per-view that I was like, yeah, I think this one doesn't live up to what we're expecting from AEW, is All Out 2020. I didn't think it was all that great. And the more I think about it, and I've really been putting some thought into it. I've been looking over old cards, looking at this, and I think it probably is. And of course this is all very personal, right? But I think this was a very, very strong pay-per-view. I think. Look, we're going to talk about it. I'll tell you one thing's for sure. Our pre-show match, NWA Women's Champion, World Women's Champion, Serena Deeb, successfully defending her title against Riho on the pre-show. I can tell you this much. I can tell you this with aplomb. That was the greatest pre-show match in the history of professional wrestling. Bar none. There is nothing else that even comes close to how good this goddamn match was. It was extraordinary. Lads and ladies, this was my match of the night. It was on the fucking pre-show. There wasn't, and don't get me, this was a card that was stacked with great matches, don't get me wrong, but this one, look, Serena Deeb, unquestionably one of the greatest women's wrestlers out there right now, if not one of the best wrestlers, period, especially in AEW. Well, especially, I'm saying that as if the roster sucks. I think she's one of their top workers, male or female. It was absolutely fantastic. And you were getting a lot of the comparisons, especially after her match from 2 weeks ago when she came back from injury, when she fought Red Velvet. And she was, people were comparing, man, she's like a Bret Hart. And I went into Double or Nothing having watched King of the Ring 93 earlier in the day. And I can concur. Like you guys remember King of the Ring 93. It's the legendary Hitman Kurt Hennig match, which was absolutely phenomenal. You know, it's like one of Brett's best matches. It's one of the best matches of his career. And so I'm seeing Hitman doing all his snappy moves and being super crisp and precise and, you know, looking to work the legs. Scientific wrestling, like they'd call it back in 93. And I'm looking at Deeb, and I'm like, my God, people are right. People are right. I'm looking at another Bret Hart. She is absolutely fantastic. Everything she does is crisp and imaginative. You know what sometimes it's the little things, right? It's just the little things that I pick up on. I'm like, God, this is so good. Early on in the match, Riho goes for a sunset flip, right? But Deeb, blocks it, and she does, she stands over and does, oh, no, one of these, you're not gonna tip me over. But instead of like sitting on her or grabbing the legs, she reaches down, grabs Rio's wrist, grapevines the arm, and rolls through into a Serenity Lock attempt. And I was marking out. I popped. That was fantastic. Riho escapes. The match wasn't finished. But, Deeb, since coming back from her injury, has been aggressive. She's been nasty, sharp. I think sharp is the best way to describe how she's been since coming back from injury. And it rules. And Riho was good too. I mean, and Riho put on a couple of things where you're like, wow, okay, like she did this great reversal out of a standing guillotine into a Northern Lights suplex, which was fantastic. And Deeb was healing it up using rope hangs and using the ropes, using the rope breaks to her advantage. The referee would call 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she'd release the hold, but then she'd go right back on it, like typical heel stuff. But she was so effective at it. I mean, you were looking at this, and then she tore at the knees of Riho, which was the story of the match, right? And at the end, she was driving the knee into the mat. And the heat she was getting heat all throughout the match out because of her outstanding work, both in ring and because of her, not only because of her in-ring work, but her character work, her heel work. And imagine that you're getting heel heat without monologues, in-ring monologues or you people promos. Just 2 matches and we get it. She's a despicable heel. Match of the night for me. And it wasn't even officially on the card. She fucking rules. And now she's wrestling Camille this weekend at the NWA pay-per-view When Shadows Fall, right? They announced the full card. Someone needs to explain to me why Camille is getting the title match when Camille and Thunder Rosa went to a double countout. Because I'm not following. I don't watch Power. I'm not subscribed to it on Fight. But Camille and Thunder Rosa last week were having a number 1 contenders match or whatever, and with that stupid gimmick about Thunder Rosa not being able to wrestle anywhere else than in NWA if she loses the match, whatever, And it goes to a time limit draw. But now Camille gets the match against Serena Deeb. So I was like, at the very least, I was like, well, maybe we're going to get a triple threat, I don't know, man. It's weird. But my point being is that just seeing how amazing Serena Deeb is these days, I am this close to just picking up the pay-per-view to watch her wrestle some more. Oh, Jason PS3 in the chat, by the way, thank you very much. Clears it up for me. Thank you and hello and welcome. He clears it up for us. It says Camille beat Thunder Rosa for the number 1 contenders match before the gimmick match. Okay. All right. look, I'm rooting for the NWA. I really am. I mean, they could just be in a lull. And every wrestling promotion goes through a lull. And I'm really rooting for them. And the pandemic was a gut punch to them. And I'll tell you one thing, the wrestling world in North America is better off with an NWA than without. Got promotions like Ring of Honor, MLW, the NWA, they all Impact too as well. They all serve a purpose. They're all super important for keeping wrestlers going, having them get TV time, furthering their careers, getting paid. Like there is multiple reasons why NWA in an ecosystem, in a wrestling ecosystem in 2021 is super important. I don't want them to fail on any level. Au contraire, like I want them to get their fucking act together. And stop thinking, bless his heart, Nick Aldis, who carried this company on his back. The NWA at some point sort of has to go, yeah, you know what? It can't be Nick Aldis' promotion forever. Anyway, I'm going off track. Deeb vs. Riho ruled. First match of the main card was Brian Cage versus Adam Page, Hangman Adam Page. I don't think it's a mistake. I don't think it's a mistake that the first match on the card, the first match on the main card, the first guy who comes out is Hangman Adam Page. I don't think it's a mistake that the return pay-per-view in front of a live crowd features Hangman Adam Page out the gate. Because the guy is a star. And they've been wanting to make him a star since All Out 2019. And it didn't quite work out the way they thought. They rehabilitated him. They're taking a slow burn with him, making him build credibility, making him look like a star. And he is fucking over with the audience, in case anyone had forgotten. And now here he was with Brian Cage having another great match. And I sung the praises of the Dynamite match that they had. I thought this one was better. And that's what I was expecting. Because I was like, man, if their match on Dynamite was so good, and they were like, well, we got to hold back a little because this is the TV match. I'm like, imagine what they have on ready for Double or Nothing. And I loved it. I thought it was a great, super opener. Like, outside of the fact that you want Adam Page to come out first and get the first big pop, outside of all of that, it was a great match. Adam Page is not a small guy, right? So when Brian Cage catches him off of a pescado, you're like, Cage is something else. He suplexes Page off the ring to the ramp, which was awesome. There's a buckshot lariat into a German suplex as well, which ruled. They have this fantastic exchange with near falls, a spinning Liger bomb. Then that great finish, and I wish AEW had shown some restraint on outside interference, belt shots, stuff like that, run-ins. I think I'll get to it later, but there was one place that it really was unnecessary. But here, like, you're starting off the show, Ricky Starks arrives and like, no, you're injured, sir. And then Hook arrives, and then Garrett Kidney loses his mind. And they try to interfere, get Brian Page to hit Brian Cage, try to hit Adam Page with the belt. Cage is like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And like, what the hell? And you have Taz, he's losing his mind on commentary. Like, you're ruining the plan, Brian. So there you go. So ultimately, Page gets the win. Great. And I think we kind of see the trajectory. I think it's been apparent, but maybe it's a little clearer now. You gotta at least say that Page is the favorite to take the belt off of Kenny Omega, right? He's at least the front runner. Right? We'll see what they do moving forward. But for now, this was great. And you know what? Here's the thing about Brian Cage. Just a note, because I don't think with the match they had a couple of weeks ago and this match here, Brian Cage, when you look at him, he never wears a shirt because he can't find one that fits, he can slip his what are these, triceps through, biceps, his chest width is off the charts. Like, you can only pay so much for like custom shirts all the time. Anyway, I'm going off topic. My point is that he looks amazing. He's a big, strong guy. So you're like, you look at him and you say to yourself, well, he's a big, strong guy and he does big, strong guy things, right? Correct. But he does so much more. Like, he's got the agility. He's got that breakneck attitude. Like, if he were sent to WWE, they'd have him doing power moves all the time. It's like, my God, pal, you're so huge. You just body slam guys, pal. That's what you're supposed to do. But no, it's like he's got so much range, and I think it's not put over enough in AEW because he doesn't get these platforms to really shine. He's a guy that I'm thrilled he signed with AEW, and I think it's a very good fit for him. But I'm excited for him to get a consistently excellent push, and hopefully this breakup of Team Taz is going to help. Pretty sure the fact that Ricky Starks got hurt sort of sidelines the story a bit, but just feed him Hook. Let him crush the teenager. Anyway, that was a super hot opener. We were 2 for 2 on that pay-per-view so far. Then we get the Young Bucks versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. They successfully retain their AEW tag team titles. I said it last week. If you all recall. Not last week, on my prediction show with John from Wrestling Plug Inc. Pluggo! I told him this is probably one of the matches that I am least excited about, least looking forward to, because I don't care about the build. I think it was a little out of nowhere. Not quite sure how it all made sense. Yes, I love Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley doing silly shit together. What? Do you think I'm made out of plexiglass? Do you think I'm a tree that has no feelings and that I just grow silently for hundreds of years without feeling anything real? You think that's what I am? No, of course I love Moxley and Kingston together. It's a great pairing. What are you talking about? I just thought the feud did nothing for me. I'm like, this is stupid. But going into the match itself, thinking about the match, I'm like, this is not going to suck. This is not going to suck. Oh, you guys in the chat. This match is not going to suck because there are too many talented people here. And it did not suck. It was great. It was absolutely great. Mox and Kingston come in with the shoes, which is great. Wild Thing through the audience. Was that crowd into it or not? Was that crowd absolutely alive for Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, Wild Thing, everyone just bellowing Wild Thing at the top of their lungs? Come on now. There's no compelling argument that you can give to me moving forward that using licensed music is a bad move. That it's bad, it's less creativity. No, you're creating an experience. You want people to get into your match. You give them songs that they recognize. Why do you think Judas works? It's because people know Judas, they know the lyrics, and they want to sing along to it. It's always the same thing. Maki Ito when she comes back to AEW, which is eventually going to happen, people are going to know the lyrics to her entrance and they're going to sing them along in Japanese even though they don't know what they're singing, but they're still going to do it. That's what these songs are for. You get Wild Thing blaring at the top of the speakers. You're singing along. Everyone knows the fucking words to the song. And Moxley and Kingston are coming to the ring. They've got grins on their faces. They're eating it up. Moxley's taking his time. They're both digging it. So it's good for your talent. On top of that, they get hype. It's so good. And DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much, DGMC. And he says, I've legit watched the Mox Eddie entrance 70 times. Why? Because it was fun. It was fun. There's a lot of things you can nitpick in wrestling, and I'm sure there's room to nitpick this some more, but I don't get it. And as a music aficionado, I don't get it. I don't get it. What, like there's another national company out there that uses shit themes for its top wrestlers. You're going to tell me that's better? It's more creative. Fuck off. Anyway, I love this match. Started straight off the bat. The challengers going for the Bucks right before the bell. Brawling match. That's what we got. We got a brawl, which got the Bucks out of their comfort zone, right? And I was wondering, I was talking about this with John at my prediction shows this weekend. And John from Wrestling Plug Inc. was saying, this will probably be a match where, the audience will have come to see the Young Bucks do, and I do this lovingly in quotation marks, the flippy shit. But it's probably not a match that's very conducive to that. And I agreed with him. I told him, I said, I absolutely agree. And that's the kind of match that I prefer from the Young Bucks regardless. And the Bucks once again prove that they can work any kind of tag team match, any type of style, and it will work. They will be able to do it. Fucking loved when they tossed the aerosol can, just hit Moxley on the top of his crown. The aerosol can went woo, flipped. Thought it was a great visual. That made Mox juice. That was after he got a hot tag. And I think everyone was expecting, right? The hot tag to Mox. No one was expecting a hot tag to Eddie Kingston. And Jesus, it made it so much better. What a fucking hot tag he got. No sells Nick's punches. But then he eats an assisted sliced bread. And then a running knee. There was this great sequence, right? Mox gets the bulldog choke in, right? While Nick is climbing to the top rope. Eddie tries to keep Nick from jumping off, right? But he can't. Gets knocked off the apron by Nick. Matt rolls out of the way, out of the bulldog choke or whatever. He just rolls out of the way just as Matt is doing a 450 splash onto Moxley. That was fucking awesome. They had to murder John Moxley to put him down. BTE Kamagoye, it's not exactly that. I forget. The knee strikes, the short arm knee strikes, the BTE trigger. There you go. I had a brain fart. Trigger after trigger after trigger. Everyone worked their asses off in this match. This ruled. It was a good match. Sip of water after a good match. Got to stay hydrated, folks. 8 ounces, 8 times a day. Never forget that. We got the Casino Battle Royal coming next. We had 3 great hot matches. Casino Battle Royal, it's always a hit and miss. It was fine, right? And, I guess the story of this match was Private Party and Matt Hardy working together to eliminate everyone. I guess that was it. I made a note here that the the Varsity Blondes got a huge pop when they came out. I'm not going to go through the eliminations. Battle Royals are what they are. And this was one of AEW's best Casino Battle Royals moving forward. I I would dare say. But it gets interesting when you get to the Final Four. Final Four are Christian, Jungle Boy, Matt Hardy, and Mark Quinn. And then the Joker card is revealed, and we get Lio Rush coming out. Was not Daniel Bryan, was not my guess, Nick Gage, was not Terry Taylor. It was Lio Rush. I don't even know why that didn't cross my mind. But it was a good, fun surprise. Not gonna lie. I thought this delivered on the surprise level. But a little short as far as his, and I'm not making a short joke here, as far as his presence during the Battle Royal. Like, should he have been tossed out so quickly by Mark Quinn? I get the story they told after when the Final Four were left. But you have a guy come in as a surprise. He runs a couple of moves. He was in the ring for like the better part of 90 seconds? You know? Why not have him eliminate Mark Quinn, or Matt Hardy? You know? It could have worked. And this is being nitpicky, okay? It's just a little weird. It's just a little strange. I mean, we got to see what he does best, and being a super quick athlete that you're like, what the hell is he doing? Something that he seldom got the opportunity to stretch his legs with in WWE. Maybe in that short time where he was Cruiserweight champion in NXT, he had some pretty baller matches, but nothing close to what he did on the indies before getting signed that people were just flipping out over. He's one of the most exciting workers we have out there. Turns out he's signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which I think is baller. I think he made the good choice as a junior heavyweight, a cruiserweight, a light heavyweight, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I think he made the best choice to be around in a division which desperately needs some name talent, some good, fresh talent that can go. Especially when Hiromu comes back. Yeah, the best of Super Juniors. Lio Rush is a New Japan guy. Of course you want that in. That's bananas, man. That's so good. Why wouldn't you want that in New Japan? I think he really made the best choice. I really do think he made the best choice. Anyway, he gets tossed out. And then their sides, Christian and Jungle Boy, they fight off Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn till eventually they have a great one-on-one exchange, they being Christian and JB, and Jungle Jack Parry, Jungle Jack wins the match. And the story here to me, because I really do believe that AEW does long-term storyline, and I don't think there's a lot of happenstance. But Jungle Boy has always been very, very close in these battle royals. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I had picked Christian because I thought that to win, because I thought it made sense for Christian's gimmick where he comes into AEW and he's like, oh, look, I want to earn my spots. Well, there you go. He has some great matches, shows that he can still go, comes into the ring at the Battle Royal. He's like, I'm going to win this. And especially coming in first, I was like, okay, cool. They're giving him the Iron Man, like it's going to be the big performance. No, turns out it's Jungle Boy, which was my second choice. So both of my choices were there. Regardless of what would happen in this match, regardless of what happened, or Jungle Boy and Jungle Boy or Christian are going to be a transitional defense for Kenny Omega, and I'm excited to see Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy. I really am. It's going to be such a big, big deal for JB. I'm a big Jungle Boy guy. I really am. So I'm excited about this. Good result. And when you heard the pop he got at the end, you're like, yeah, the right guy won for sure. People love him. They love that song. They love the song. They love to sing along to it. I'm telling you guys. I want to say hello to AK Germany 96. Welcome to the chat. Got Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo next. All right. This is a contentious one, right? This is one that's going to get chat fired up, I think. And if you're a wrestling fan, you probably watch this one and you're like, yeah. You probably look to all your favorite commentators, all your favorite writers, podcasters, and you're like, I want to know what they think. I thought this match was fine, but that's pretty much it. I thought it was fine. Let me break it down a little bit. Of course, Cody comes out. His getup reminded me of Homelander. Who watches The Boys here? The Amazon show, the superhero show. Like, I know it wasn't a complete Homelander cosplay, but he comes out with the big uniform, the cape, the USA, the blonde hair. I'm like, hi. And he comes out with 70 million people. And it's the most Cody Rhodes thing. Cody can't come out alone for a match, right? He just can't. Overcompensates. So I'm going to get this out of the way. I didn't care for the match. I thought it was fine, but it's not one that tickled me. It's not one that got me in the right place. I just didn't care for it. Didn't hate it. Didn't care for it. But I didn't like the ending. Okay? And this is the part where I have to be fucking nuanced, because this is the kind of stuff I can't talk about on Twitter or within a 220 character limit, because there's too much nuance to how I feel about this match. Just be like, I didn't like the match, because then people are going to, oh, you hate Cody Rhodes, you just hate Cody, just give him a chance. Or you'll have the other contingents like, that's right, Cody buries everyone, he's the modern day Triple H. Yeah, I don't want to be caught in that, because I feel like there's levels to my dislike to the ending here. All right, and the first thing we're going to get out of the way, first and foremost, is no, I don't think the fact that the match didn't end with that one gut punch from Anthony Ogogo has ruined Anthony Ogogo's punch. Anthony Ogogo's gut punches, his liver punches, have been putting out jabronis. He's been Austin Gunn. Who was the kid 2 weeks ago that he had bleeding from the mouth, right? No, it was Anthony Ogogo. And then the other kid, he just knocked him out, period, right? Just like, and he died. So, of course, Cody's a superstar. He's a main event guy. Of course, a punch isn't going to put him down. And it shouldn't put him down. The opposite wouldn't make sense. And the punch, when it happened, if memory serves me right, Cody was in control of the match early on, right? And Ogogo punches him, and it takes Cody out of his game. Like, he bends over, and then Ogogo gets in control. That works for me. And maybe Ogogo was like, oh shit, he's not dead. I have to keep fighting, Like, it didn't bother me. Anyway. It was an 11-minute match. Competitive, which is weird. I would have shortened it. I don't think it needed to be 11 minutes. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the king of wrestling here. I'm going to tell you guys what I would have preferred. And if you dug it, I'm super cool with it. And if you hated it, I'm super cool with it too. Tell you what I would have preferred. Shorter match, and a lot more masking Ogogo's greenness. Because you could tell he suffered from some inexperience during some stretches, which was to be expected. It's the guy's first, like, real televised wrestling match. So I don't expect him to come out, being fucking Daniel Bryan, right? I'm cool with that. I think the match should have been shorter, masking a little more Ogogo's problems, but mostly, and this is the thing, this is the one detail, this is the thing, I think Cody should have lost. And I'm not saying this to be in agreement with the Cody wins LOL crowd, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that mentality that people have in that regard. Cody puts people over. This is essentially what he's been doing since since starting the company. What am I talking about? This is essentially what he's been doing. He's been putting people over. He put Chris Jericho over and said, I will never challenge for the world title again if I lose, and he lost. He made Darby Allin a star. Darby Allin was I think he was destined to, but I think Cody accelerated the process. He had the TNT run. The TNT run opened up the doors and said, anyone who wants to challenge, come to me. He challenges. Fucking Warhorse was able to create a social media campaign to get on the show. Cody's like, come on, kid. Hopefully you'll be able to up your rate thanks to this. Hooray, he's on TV. Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, you can argue that both those guys have jobs because of the matches they had with Cody. Brody Lee was put over huge. Brody Lee destroyed Cody when he won the TNT title. Not, pinned him and, Cody passed out. No! Cody didn't get any offense in. Cody did a fucking stretcher job. Brody was made by Cody. And anyone who goes around and say he buries people, he's like Triple H. Look, I'm not saying, I'm personally, right? Okay? I think Cody is insufferable. That's my feeling about the guy. He's insufferable. He's got an ego, but who in wrestling doesn't? He has the big entrance. He does all this shit. It's his company. He can do what he wants. He comes through the middle instead of coming out of the tunnels. All that shit. All right? There's a bunch of stuff that Cody that just irks me. But objectively speaking, you can't go around saying Cody buries people, because he doesn't. Cody wins LOL. It's not even close to being, because the comparison that he gets is to Triple H. Oh, Triple H, he's just like Triple H. Triple H is documented. It's documented multiple times that he never did that in situations, excuse me, I'm rephrasing. In situations where he needed to do the right thing, he didn't do the right thing. And the Booker T stuff comes to mind. Darby Allin, Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, fucking Jade Cargill, folks. He let Jade Cargill slap him across the face. And it's not going to be a payoff because he doesn't believe in intergender wrestling. So, what are you going to do? It's like, objectively speaking, just objectively, and this is in complete disregard of what you may think about the guy. It's like I said, I'm not a fan, but I appreciate and recognize what he's doing. So, that being said, it makes it twice as bizarre that he let Ogogo lose. That he didn't leave Ogogo get over with a big win, defeating Mr. America on fucking Memorial Day weekend. Wasn't Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend. With all the Raw USA stuff. Because that's what I was expecting. And I still think that should have been the out of this. Anthony Ogogo beating Captain America and being like, and beating him. I thought we were going to get the blood in the mouth gimmick because we'd been pushing that. 5, 6 gut punches. Cody starts coughing up blood. Cody loves to bleed. Rolls him over, fucking pins him. Cody's dying in the ring. He beats him up some more. You create a heel. And a good one. A guy who's demonstrated that he's capable of being a heel, that he's got the chops, he's got the charisma, he understands how to cut promos, he understands how to get heat. Despite the fact that he's also a great guy who hates homophobes. It's like, it's so strange to me. So then it gets me wondering, right? Like, what's the purpose of QT's group then? The breakoffs, the factory, when they broke off from the Nightmare family, it's like QT lost, Aaron Solo and Nick Comoroto both lost in the Battle Royal, and Ogogo lost his match. So they're all jokers at this point, right? They're all just clowns. They should have, you look at that right now and you're like, look at these jokers. You guys should have stayed with Cody. Why'd you break off? You thought you could we're going to be so much better treated now that we're breaking away from the Nightmare family, and you're losing all your matches like a bunch of goons. But the thing that's weird, is ultimately I really felt that this was a stable of young, hungry guys that they were going to put over as being young, hungry, aggressive guys that are just ready to do anything to get a win. But that's not at all what we got. It's so weird. It's really weird. And the match was weird. You could feel a deflation in the audience, right? You could feel the audience deflated. And I know a lot of people were mentioning that, like, it sort of took the wind out of the sails. But I'll tell you this, let's be honest with each other. I don't know what match could have kept the audience energy up that high after fucking Serena, Deeb, and Riho, after Paige and Cage, after the Bucks, Moxley and Kingston, and after Jungle Boy winning a battle royal. Like, that was, those were 4 electric matches the audience were into at some point, and the audience is just going to exhaust itself. They're just going to go. So frankly, I can't even blame the workers here. What match in this very position would have been able to keep the audience energy level that high? I don't know. I think it was a completely natural reaction. Got some super chats. Let's take a look here. DGMC left us a couple. Thank you very much, DGMC. I appreciate it. First one says, the Cody versus Ogogo story should have been boxer versus wrestler, period. An homage to Inoki Ali or Butterbean Gun, not nerd versus anti-nerd or US versus UK. In my opinion, yeah, that could have been good. Even like a wink and a nudge to Rocky 2, right? With Hulk Hogan. What was he called? Thunderlips and Rocky, right? That could have been fun too. Inoki Ali too. That could have been good. But not Inoki. I was gonna say something stupid. All right. Thank you very much for the super chat, DGMC. The second one that he left says, I think Ogogo attacking Cody after would have worked. Yes, at least let the guy get his heat back, right? While Cody is celebrating and he's got his, while he's celebrating and the audience going, yay, and then just drags him off the turnbuckle and just beats the shit out of him. Let the boy get his heat back. But I have a theory for why all of this happened, and I'll let you know at the very end. But yeah, this was very, very good. Anakin JMT is here, and he left us a super chat. Muchas gracias, Anakin JMT. He says, going to try listening at 2 times speed to catch up. Man, Warren sounds hilarious, sped up so fast. I sound hilarious all the time, my friend. I am just a constant jokeroony. That's what I am. But thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Then we had Miro versus Lance Archer, which I didn't take many notes for this match because frankly, I don't remember much out of it. It was fine. Don't get me wrong. I don't remember much out of it outside of Miro being extremely dominant and Archer being another huge guy himself helped put that over like crazy. I remember Miro throwing the snake. People getting bent out of shape. Don't worry, there's no real snake in there. The ending comes when Miro knees. Archer gets the game over and Archer passes out. You know what I'm sort of getting pet peeved of. I mean, I'm on my way. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not outright bothered by it. But I'm kind of excited to see less guys passing out in submissions, more guys tapping out, or girls. It seems to me like, we got to protect him. He's going to pass out. And there's a lot of people who just pass out, but I want to see someone tap. This was fine. I don't have many notes, and like I said, I barely remember it, but I remember enjoying it. I thought it was fine. So no big deal. Let's move on. Britt Baker is your new AEW World Women's Champion, defeating Hikaru Shida. I thought this was a good match. I thought it had a great start and a fantastic finish. The middle part was some moments were like really, really strong and others were like, it suddenly felt like they were trying to catch their bearings. I don't know. A lot of people thought that, Britt's bell might have got rung when she was thrown into the steps of the barricades at some point, and maybe she got a little loopy. Reba used the crutch on Britt. Also at some point, there's a Falcon Arrow, curb, and the belt gets involved as well. Britt hits the curb stomp on the belt, and she wins with the lockjaw. That was awesome. I mean, if I'm being nitpicky, what are you gonna do? We didn't need the outside interference here. Then this is one of the things that irked me about the show. And we didn't need the outside. This is a match I don't feel we needed the outside interference. I think Reba should have tried and then get tossed and just let the women do their thing. But I understand the character. I understand Britt Baker. Don't get me wrong. I get it and it makes sense. But also at some point I'm like, we're doing this again, guys and gals. Come on now. We're going to do it in the main event as well. But it didn't ruin the match for me. I'm being nitpicky here. Just being like, it would have been better if kind of situation. Look, there's a lot of people who get the wrong impression and who've challenged me on this, saying, because I was very, very gung-ho on putting the title on Britt Baker, and people took that as a slight, saying, well, Shida was a great champion. And I never said Shida wasn't a great champion. I think Shida was the best possible champion during the pandemic era. She did the absolute best with what she had. Absolute best. And she ran through everyone in the division. She ran through everyone. And she gave us good matches. She gave us stinkers. Not always her fault. The Abaddon match comes to mind. That was not good. That was not a good match. But she honestly was the best champion that they could have. And I think she really did help elevate the title. I think she helped maintain, she helped maintain credibility in the women's division as well, which, as you all know, was a challenge. And we're getting out of the challenge of having a credible women's division in AEW. But that was a challenge. I really, there's only so much that you can pin on Shida at this point when you look at the decisions that were being made in regards to the division, what they were doing with the women. They tossed everyone at her, and she did what she had to do. Go out, get the best match possible, make everyone look good. I think she had a fantastic run, and she was very, very deserving of it. And I'm glad that she got to be celebrated in front of a live crowd. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that she didn't deserve it. She absolutely did. Britt, was her time? I think her losing the match, would have been a bad decision. This is what everyone wanted. I don't get worried. Is she going to turn face now? No. And you can still cheer for her. That's fine. It's okay. It's not because she's getting cheered that they're going to necessarily make her a heel. I think her heel persona is what making people get behind. The people are behind her because she's complete, because she works hard, because her persona is entertaining. It's not just because they want to cheer for her because they like her. They like her. They just don't. Not making any sense. People, the audience cheered for her because it's Britt Baker, because she's been fucking amazing, because while she was injured, she was still the face of the women's division. She's the face of the women's division. She's one of the top 3 acts in the company right now. This was the time to put the belt on her. Absolutely the time to put the belt on her. It was a good decision. Excited to see what comes next for our girl Britt. If anything, we're getting fresh matches. What more can you want? Sting and Darby Allin defeated Scorpio Sky and All Ego Ethan Page. Again, a bit of a surprise result here. But this was fun. It was fun. You know when pro wrestling is just fun and you're not like, look, I don't think he properly was able to, I don't think he properly applied the chin lock on the STF. It looked a little soft. This was just a fun pro wrestling match starring a 62-year-old man who was told, you cannot wrestle anymore. You can't do it anymore. And there he was, flying off of stages and diving onto the floor onto dudes, right? And Sting went above and beyond anything that people wanted. And again, it's something I talked about during my prediction show. And I equate Sting's AEW run to Undertaker when in his documentary, when he kept saying over and over again, I don't know, I want to quit the business, but I can't quit the business. The retirement is hard, and I don't, you always feel you have one more in you. This is Sting. This is also applicable to Sting, I am convinced. And he wants one more good run, right? He just wants to get in there, and he wants to go on his terms. He doesn't want doctors in Stamford, Connecticut telling him, Sting, you can't go. When he can. He clearly can. And when I say he went above and beyond expectations, this is what the audience wanted. I'm going to tell you exactly what the audience in that arena that night and the viewers watching at home, this is what we wanted. We wanted Sting to shout, it's showtime. We wanted Sting to hit a scorpion splash, a scorpion death drop, and a scorpion death lock. That's what we wanted. And we would have popped. We would have went, woo! Sting is doing the things that we like. And it would have been perfect. But the dude is like, nah, son, I'm going to give you more because I can still do this even though I'm 62. And fucking A, if I didn't pop when he did the dive, I was already impressed with what he did at the cinematic match that he had with Darby and Team Taz. And look at him this weekend. He's going above and beyond. I'm like, this is great. This is a guy who loves wrestling. It's all he's ever done. It's all he knows. And he wants to go out on his terms. And you cannot but respect that. And in the meantime, he's putting over Darby Allin, giving him the rub. The only thing that I think is weird is that he won. He and Darby won. Because I kind of thought that this would have been another, kind of like Ogogo, a great opportunity to create some dirty heels. Imagine if Scorpio Sky had fucking pinned Sting. I'm not going to start going around, oh, Sting's the new Triple H, can't put over the young talent. No. Not what I'm saying at all. Just thought it was weird. But it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you again, DGMC. He says, do we see Sting put over Scorpio one-on-one at some point? It would be really interesting to see. It would be really interesting to see how good he could go in a one-on-one situation. It would be really interesting how long, because tag team matches, they allow you to breathe, right? You can hit your spots, then you're on the side of the apron until it's your time to go back in. But he was bumping, he was going, right? It's not just Sting hanging around waiting for a hot tag. I don't know, man. I'd be very interested in seeing that. And honestly, if that were to happen, I hope that Scorpio Sky would go over. I just hope. But it was fun. Fun. Kenny Omega retained the AEW World Championship, defeating Orange Cassidy and Pac by pinfall. The work was great. It was definitely a great triple threat match, but I'm not a fan of championship triple threat matches. So a great triple threat match to me is still like it's not a great match. You know, it's just like, oh, well, they went above and beyond in the context of this gimmick that they have going here. Swiss Roll Chris and Brainman02. Good to see you guys. Welcome to the chat. Or gals, or both. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, so and this is extremely personal, right? Because you can't complain about the work. The guys worked hard. The drama at the end, some great near falls. I thought it was great. I honestly think they could have got away with Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy in the one-on-one. I really do. But this is just me, you know, and I'm definitely not shitting on the match. I'm not going around saying this match was awful. Au contraire. It was an extremely well done, tip-top triple threat match. But, you know, I feel like we're curving on a grade. We're grading on a curve. I was like, no, you don't. It's the opposite, Warren. Yeah. You know, it's great for a triple threat match. But there was some great stuff here. Frankie Kazarian, he's the elite killer. Love it. Can get behind that. I love the spot with the belts. I fucking loved it. What amazing, obnoxious heat. This is like having Don Callis just feeding Kenny each of his belts so he could just plaster dudes. I loved it. Primo stuff. I thought it was great. Loved it. You know, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. Mark Henry was also introduced that evening. They trotted him out, a new AEW signee. He's going to be an Allin words, Warren, an analyst for Rampage, and he's going to be a coach backstage. All right, cool. Mark Henry, he's got an eye for talent. That's fine, and I'm sure he's got a lot of experience. Well, no, he has a lot of experience, but he's got a lot that he can bring due to his experience to the talent backstage. yada, yada, yada. You've heard a lot of commentators and podcasters talk about the exact same things that I'm talking about right now. So I'm not going to rehash them. But here's one thing that I do find interesting, and I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this, but isn't it interesting that the older WWE guys, Hall of Famers, combination of both, they're leaving WWE to kind of end their career on their terms, right? Sting, Paul White, Mark Henry, Christian. Guys who were told in WWE, no, you can't go anymore. We're sidelining you. And they're like, nah, I still got stuff. I still have love to give. Kind of thing. The Big Show, they tried to do the Netflix show and that didn't turn out. And Big Show could be like, man, I don't want to act. I want to be around wrestlers. I want to do this. Maybe he doesn't want to wrestle anymore, but maybe he's got some. Maybe he just wants to contribute in a different way to the business, and in a way that Vince is like, nah, son, I'm not putting you on commentary, kind of thing. And it kind of reminds me the 90s, when Vince started benching his MVPs and started giving room to the younger guys, when we started moving into the new generation era, and Macho Man, who left WWF because Vince was like, nah, man, you're not wrestling anymore. I'm putting you on commentary. Or Piper, Gene Okerlund, Bobby Heenan, all guys that Vince was like, nah, we're good. And all these guys were like, nah, we're not good. I want to keep going. And even Hogan left to some extent, but Hogan's a different pear tree, because Hogan ultimately, he left because he knew Vince wasn't going to make him the top guy anymore. He wasn't going to be like the unequivocal top draw anymore. He was Bret Hart, Yokozuna, And Hogan, of course, went to WCW for more money and less dates. That's ultimately it. But he had that in the back of his mind too, where he's like, well, Vince he's going to make me work, but he's not going to put me in the top spot as much as he used to, because he's got to push other guys. These are guys that Vince had considered to be obsolete. They're all like, no, we're not done, Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting around here and telling you that this is the, we're going back to WCW days, right? No, this is not what I'm saying. Wheelchair wrestling, like some of the fans used to call it. No. Besides, it's a dull comparison, and I hate those kinds of comparisons. It's just interesting to think that it's the same type of mentality that is pushing these guys to go to the other company. That's what I find interesting. Devon Pudil, or Pudel, welcome to the chat. Or Devon, I probably butchered your name something fierce, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And the main event was the Stadium Stampede. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I didn't like it. I thought it was too long. I didn't feel the stakes mattered. The breaking up of the Inner Circle, I don't think it didn't feel like they mattered, which is, to me, the cardinal sin of all of this. Didn't feel it was as good as last year's, and it was a step down from Blood and Guts. That's the essence of my analysis. The stakes here were for Inner Circle. Inner Circle were going to break up. Pinnacle had nothing to lose. All on the Inner Circle, and this sort of Damocles that was hanging over them. If you guys lose, you cannot be a group anymore. And you had Chris Jericho throwing footballs. You had Pride and Powerful in a party DJ'd by Conan. It's like, what am I watching? What is this? And it's a step down from Blood and Guts, because these guys wanted to kill each other just a couple of weeks ago. They were all inside a ring. They were bleeding. They were throwing each other off of cages onto crash pads. But the thing is that they all wanted to murder themselves. Dax Harwood told Santana during a build-up promo to the Blood and Guts match, he told him to tell your kids that you love them and that you might not be seeing daddy again. He was basically telling them, Santana, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to end your life. And what the next time we see them after Blood and Guts, we see them in a fucking bar with like 8 people in it, and they're fighting into elevators. I don't get it. And I don't understand why they didn't do more in front of the crowd. Rappelling down the sign, then fighting. Like, I really thought that they were going to brawl, like do an empty arena brawl and then come into the ring area much sooner than they did and have many more spots so that the audience could feel, like an ECW brawl where you have 3 sets of people fighting each other and you've got cameras everywhere and it's just fucking chaos. And it would have made sense and it would have worked, to have and to feel that drama about the Inner Circle, but there was no drama about the Inner Circle and the stakes. It was just like comedy. It was, and I don't understand the comedy. I don't understand why they decided to make funny funs out of it. I thought it was a complete step down from everything. Hell, the Pinnacle pile drove 2 guys off a wall through tables in the lead up to this match here. I was like, dude, so we are going to get something violent. We're going to go down this. We didn't. Was it all bad? No, because there's a good, the shining light here, and which I think is fantastic and a beautiful capping off to a long-term story. Sammy Guevara getting the pin for his team is a big deal. We know Sammy is going to be a star. We know he's destined for big things in AEW. They like the kid. They're going to push him. And he got the big time win. But it's also closing out his story with the Inner Circle. So let's not forget, Sammy was always loyal. He was probably the guy who loved the Inner Circle the most. He smelled MJF's shit a mile away when he joined. And Sammy left the group because he didn't recognize his team anymore. He says, we're not a family anymore. And he was so frustrated that none of his other buddies could see what was going on. He was like, I prefer to not be a part of this than to see it crumble. He hits the bricks and he comes back when the Inner Circle needs him most. He's the guy who calls for the match to end when Chris Jericho is about to be thrown off the cage, because he's like, I love my guys too much. These guys are family. I don't want anyone getting injured. I don't want anyone getting hurt. So basically his love for the Inner Circle was right there on top of everything. And then he gets the win it was Sammy's story. It was how crucial Sammy Guevara is to the Inner Circle. You gotta love it. That's fantastic. And I will also forgive this to a degree, because I think that ultimately this is a symbol of the end of the pandemic era of wrestling. Going from cold, reactionless environments like an empty football arena, pre-tape stuff, and then moving out of that to come into a live crowd Get the live reactions, get the people excited again, shouting, screaming. I think it was a symbol of the passage of the passage of the COVID era of wrestling into live crowds again. I think it's a direct metaphor. So I didn't like the match, but I think the end was good, and there should have been more stuff happening inside the ring. I really, really do. That was Double or Nothing. I thought it was a solid show. And you know what? My overall analysis, when I'm sitting here and I'm saying, why did the Inner Circle win? They should have split them up. Why did Cody go over? Why? Was their first show back in front of a live audience. They wanted to make that audience happy. Let your favorites win tonight. Let the good guys win. Not just the good guys, Britt Baker won. But it's like, let everyone win. Make the audience cheer. Give them what they want. They want to sing Judas at the end of the show. They want Cody, the USA stuff on top. They want Sting winning a match. All these booking decisions where I'm like, this is weird, but ultimately when you take a step back and you look at it, it's like, this is a match this was a card that was made to celebrate the return of the live crowds. So they gave them what they wanted. And you can't fault them for that. It's a wrestling promotion. That's what you're supposed to do. Want to say hello to John Bear Gaming, who joined us right here, just as I'm about to wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection. It turns out that I have pie. Key lime pie. I had served myself a slice before coming on the air, and I don't know why I didn't eat it. I have it here, but it's supposed to be frozen, and it's been, just hanging around there. So it's a little mushy, not quite as cold or refreshing, and it's hot, Oh, well, good stuff. Hope you don't mind me just indulging in a bit of key lime pie. As I thank you all for joining me here tonight. Once again, we're not done. Just remember to, if you like this so far, give the video a like here on YouTube, and do consider becoming a member. If you become a member of my YouTube channel, after we're done, I'm starting up the post stream, and we're going to be talking some more about Double or Nothing, because I want to hear what you guys thought about it. I really do. DGMC left us a super chat, by the way. Thank you very much. He says, was half expecting the Inner Circle to turn on Sammy afterwards. Absolutely. I mean, there could have been, it would have made sense. It could have been possible. It could have absolutely been possible. Or Sammy turning on them, But thank you for that. I appreciate it. This weekend, we've got Dominion in Osaka Joe Hall from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I could not be less excited for a New Japan show, which is wild, And I mean, look, okay, I've talked about New Japan and how I find it's a little rough to watch. It's not as good as it once was, but the pandemic era has been really unkind to New Japan. And while, despite the fact that New Japan has been putting out all the precautions to avoid COVID, and, there was another state of, they've been thrown curveballs with this. Another state of emergency was declared, including Tokyo, which forced them to cancel the Wrestle Grand Slam shows, or postpone them anyway. All the shows in Korakuen Hall were canceled. A bunch of wrestlers got COVID. Will Ospreay gets injured and gives up the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, the new title, that has been defended twice in its history so far. The locker room, there's rumors that there's tensions. The company drew an average of 295 people on a 3-show run at Korakuen Hall. 294 people. Yeah, Korakuen Hall's not a big, it's not a basketball venue, sure. When your average is under 300, like it's got to be, it's rough. New Japan is rough these days. It really is. And I'm having trouble getting into it. And it breaks my heart because I love New Japan. Don't get me wrong, you know? I guess the big news to come out of the Road to Dominion shows that we got is that the Dangerous Techers, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. are tag champs again. That's really the biggest news. But then again, who gives a shit about the New Japan tag team division? No, I don't. But this is what we're expecting this week, and this is what we got. We got Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Sho taking on Evil Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, Chase Owens, Taiji Ishimori, and El Fantasmo. Okay. Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito of LIJ are going to be taking on Dookie, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. from Suzuki-gun. This smells of eventual tag team challengers here for the new tag champs, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. And putting them in with the LIJ fellas. Okay, I mean, it was sure. It could be fun, but whatever. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship is going to be on the line. El Desperado is going to be taking on Yo. Desperado is still the champion. This match was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago at, the name of the show is, I've got a brain fart. This was supposed to happen on the show where Ospreay and Shingo had that amazing match. Anyway, so we have that coming up. Desperado versus Yo. Good. I want Despy to have a great title run. He was sidetracked a little bit with the COVID, but I hope he's doing okay and that he's ready to go. Yo, whatever. Show's our boy. Is Show on my list? Let's pull up my list. Let's pull it up here. Yeah, Show's on my list. Danny Limelight, Nick Camarado, Trish Adora, Show, and Ren Narita. Those are I can't call them my boys because Trish is on there. I'm going to need to find them another name. Warren's Kids? No, I hate that. I'm not going to call them that. Anyway. But, I mean, Yo's fine. Have him lose. I hate the idea of Yo still being around and keeping Show from singles competition. It bugs me. Show's so very, very, very good. Kota Ibushi versus Jeff Cobb should be a lot of fun. That's a good mix right there. Clash of styles. Cobb had some really, really strong matches in New Japan this year. I'm stoked to see this. Like, this is just this will be a visually fun, striking match. I'm excited to see how that's going to go. And then we're having a match to declare a winner. Who's going to win the vacant IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Kazuchika Okada, who was supposed to fight Will Ospreay, is instead going to be taking on Shingo Takagi, excuse me. I always fuck that up. I mean, Shingo, I'm a Shingo guy. I love Shingo. Like, to me, Shingo, as it's 2021 so far, I don't think there's anyone who's had more consistently great matches than he has on major wrestling organizations. Will Ospreay's been great, but Shingo has had more matches, more consistently great matches. So the question that we have, right, is do we put the title on Shingo? And I talked about this briefly a couple of weeks ago. Shingo should be a world champion in New Japan, but I would love him to win the title off of Will Ospreay because Ospreay is the guy. He's his nemesis. He's his foe. this is the feud of the future of the company, and I'm not even using hyperbole here. I think these two guys are just too good with each other to just relegate to a couple of feuds. This has story. So I can get behind the idea of putting the title on Shingo, but it would be so much more meaningful if it were Will that he'd take it off of. I don't know what's going to happen here. What's going to happen in this match is going to give the direction for New Japan right up until the G1. We're going to get a better picture of what the chess pieces are going to look like and see what's going to happen moving forward. We're just going to see what's going to happen. Oh, there's still so much I want to talk about, and we're 20 minutes in. All right, I'm going to I'm going to go straight to the okay, look. I wanted to talk about the WWE sales stuff, and go follow Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics, because there's a lot of stuff that I picked up from him in regards to this idea that WWE is doing a clearance sale by firing a bunch of people, and I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I don't think that's quite it. Some people have been asking me what my thoughts were on the two Ultimate Warrior documentaries that we got recently. The one from the A&E from A&E, the WWE co-produced ones, and the one from Dark Side of the Ring. I enjoyed both. I enjoyed both of them. Well made, good narratives, told good stories. You could tell in the Dark Side of the Ring one, they wanted to pack so much more stuff into it, but they just didn't have the time and didn't do a 2-hour one. I guess, I think you can't constantly do 2-hour documentaries on all sorts of people at some point, but you do feel like they wanted to add a little more. I think Brian Pillman getting the 2-hour treatment, I think that was probably the better story to tell. It was the more compelling, more interesting story. But what I found most interesting when you compare the two are the different stories told by Dana Warrior and Warrior's ex-wife, Cherie Tyree. When she was talking about how she met him and how they were setting things up and so on and so forth, you could tell that guy wanted to be famous. That's all he wanted, and the fame got to him. Started sleeping around, started getting these delusions of grandeur, and that brought them to the end of their marriage, right? That brought around the end of their marriage. So that was really interesting. The two sides of that story there. The WWE documentary offered up a full-on redemption story, when the Dark Side of the Ring one was a little more nuanced in regards to the outcome. It really made it in a, well, we'll leave it up to you, casual, gentle viewers. What do you think? They didn't outright say it, but they kind of left the door more open to, look, this is what we're presenting to you. You get to feel how you feel about Ultimate Warrior. When it ends with Jake Roberts, who earlier in the show was saying, Warrior screwed me out of my main event position and screwed me out of so much money, I would have been set for life, and it's all his fault. And he sort of comes towards the end, and you can tell there's a part of him that's still very bitter, but there's a part of him where he's letting go, and he's like, man, rest in peace. He just ends on a very what's the word I'm looking for? Sympathetic note. I mean, you sort of look at that and you're like, well, okay, that's the thing. It's really up to you as the viewer in regards to the Dark Side of the Ring to decide, well, how do you feel about Warrior, right? But of course, I think, the biggest difference, the most compelling difference between the two was how the WWE, the AEW doc, the A&E doc, you talk about wrestling all the time, right? The A&E doc sort of brushed off that infamous University of Connecticut speech, the querying don't make the world go around quote, and they sort of made it into a thing where it's like, it just happened this one time. Not quite sure what. We were all surprised. How did it go? Oh, they had my back against the wall. Oh my goodness. And he lashed out as if it was something that was in a bubble and it never happened again. They didn't say it never happened again, but they never followed up with a bunch of other stupid shit that the Ultimate Warrior said, wrote, and saying, you had Dana Warrior saying, that, oh well, talk radio was on a lot in our home, Rush Limbaugh, and that might have contributed to his political point of view, when Warrior clearly said in his speech that he owes his conservative viewpoint to his wife, Dana. It's not Rush Limbaugh's fault, and I think that's a fucking cop-out at the same time. And I didn't expect the A&E documentary to go really deep into Warrior's other transgressions or, weird positions, because he's spread homophobic rhetoric on multiple occasions. His rants on Hurricane Katrina, where he blamed the people in New Orleans for how hard they were hit and how difficult they were finding it to rebuild themselves. As well, that's you let this happen to you, kind of thing. Or his writings on how Martin Luther King Day shouldn't exist to honor the man, or his Native American stuff, right? Where he considered himself to be a Native American in the accurate sense. And these are his words, and I quote, "In the accurate sense, I was born here in America," is what he says. And he'd take issue with the fact that Native Americans would call themselves that way, calling it misleading. He said that he thought it wrong for Native Americans to say, and I'm reading a quote here from his blog, "My ancestors lived in a teepee and wore feathers in their hair, or yelp like a hyena, or wave blankets, or burn smudge sticks and smoke tax-free cigarettes." I mean, not to mention his words on Bobby Heenan as he was dying of cancer. Look, there was so much shit that Ultimate Warrior put out there that the University of Connecticut thing wasn't a one-time thing, or wasn't like a freak act of nature, was a symptom of his ultra-conservative, dehumanizing views. And Dark Side of the Ring didn't dive that deep into them either. They did a better job to make us understand that this, the Yukon thing wasn't just an isolated incident. There was a lot more to it. But I think it's still interesting. Like, there's still a full picture. I think I don't think either of the promotions not the promotions. See, I'm so used to talking about wrestling, but either of the documentaries did the global, the global picture of what Ultimate Warrior was, who he was, and what he became. I think you put both of them together and you get a really good picture, and that's what's really interesting. I know Dana Warrior said she wasn't watching that smut and filth, right? And it wasn't smutty, it wasn't filth. It was actually very, very, it was compelling. And it wasn't half as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it would have been very, very easy for them to just run through him. And they didn't pull punches. And if Dana had, and I'm convinced actually that Dana was contacted by the Dark Side of the Ring people to appear and give her side of the story. I'm convinced. I think that like if you're, 'cause I'm familiar with all the stuff in regards to Warrior, because I've been reading a lot. I've read a lot in regards to him. I've followed his stuff, and even when I was watching wrestling younger and hanging out on the internet, and I always thought he was crazy. Essentially, when you're younger and you don't know enough, you're like, this guy's nuts. And neither documentary talked about the WCW thing either, his tenure in WCW, which is, there's reasons for that to have happened too. And I'm sure there's a lot of them that are financial and his desire to be famous, And if you're not quite familiar with everything that Ultimate Warrior is, you can definitely go ahead and watch both of them, and you will get a pretty good, clear picture. You really will. I think it's worth watching both. Let's talk about the WWE cuts. Why don't you? Why don't we? More firings. Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy, Lana, and Santana Garrett. And of course, the shocker is Braun Strowman. A guy, a WWE homegrown talent. I've had this argument with some people on the internet in regards to what a homegrown talent is. People saying Orange Cassidy is an AEW homegrown talent, the same brother or sister. He's been wrestling for 15 years. I don't think he's homegrown AEW. Well, he's homegrown because they made him a star. Oh, they made him a star. They made him a name recognized by millions at this point, but he's not homegrown. Braun Strowman is a WWE homegrown talent. Has only been in WWE system from top to bottom. And he never went anywhere else, never did any indie work. He's been WWE from top to bottom. And once he broke out of the Wyatts and got that push with Roman, right, doing these impossible feats of strength, that's what made Braun Strowman. No promos, no deep motivations. He was the monster. He was the monster among men. Yeah. And you believed it because he just wanted to fuck shit up. And he was an attraction. He was a guy that you never knew what kind of wild shit he was going to do next. And that's what made him so good once he broke away from there. And you look at the guy, his size, his face, the wild man look, and you like, this guy was custom made for Vince McMahon. That's exactly the kind of big man Vince loves. And of course, this guy is going to make it in WWE. He's designed for it. But then the cracks started to appear, and WWE got in its own way, And I think that Braun Strowman stopped being Braun Strowman that time where he used the cello as a guitar when he was feuding with Elias. I'm sure you remember that visual. Funny shit on the spot. But now we're losing that wild, aggressive, instinct-driven guy who just wants to destroy shit. Now he's being kooky and comedic. The feud with Brock Lesnar. The match was terrible. It stunk. But it was that moment there that they should have put the strap on Braun, because that's when he was at his hottest. That's when he was peaking. But no, they waited. WWE loves waiting on shit, right? Oh my God. They love waiting on stuff and make sure that I don't know what they're waiting for sometimes, but they had him be tag champs with a kid. They had him win that belt in Saudi Arabia. You remember that? Then he became the leader of a heel squad against the Shield, right? It's like the Dogs of War. What was it? I can't remember. The Dirty Dogs of War. And he's thrown in as Roman's replacement at WrestleMania 36. Where he finally ends up with the title, but then gets caught up in the Fiend shenanigans And he never recovers from that. He never recovers from it. I would argue he never recovered from the Lesnar loss. Because they kept putting him in this weird shit where they're like, nah, he's fine, but he's not fine. And Braun's like, hit the bricks, man. It's so weird. That is the weirdest firing. Because he really was a WWE prototypical star. And they couldn't do anything with him. WWE Creative couldn't do something with the most WWE type that they had. And it goes to show you just how little planning they have. How bankrupt they are creatively if they can't put over the type of wrestler that they are most known for. No, Braun Strowman's not hitting the independent circuit. I don't even think he's going to AEW. He's not going to Impact. He's not going anywhere else. He's going to do some side stuff. He's going to try and get himself into cameos in movies. He's going to try. And in 2 years, he's coming back to WWE at a lesser contract. Within 2 years, he'll be back. And people will be excited to see him again. They brought Braun back. And people will be excited to see him. Aleister Black is this is a heartbreaker because he was such an important part of NXT during his run. His tag team with Ricochet when he finally got called up was exciting, but he's a guy that WWE never fully unlocked. I guess they were saving him. That's what he was talking about on his streams. And you know what? He's getting a lot of shit for the streams that he's saying, right? It's like, oh, Vince loves me. And I know a lot of people are riffing on him. Because on his streams, he's saying, Vince loved my ideas. He thought it was so creative, you know, but yet you're still fired, pal, you know. But he's so creative. Vince loved my ideas. You know, I told him about the movies that I watch, and Vince was into it, and Vince is a cool guy, and Vince, but you still lost your job, right? So there's a lot of people who are riffing on him on that. But that, you know what that should mean to you, folks? Gentle listeners, gentle watchers? That should mean to you that Aleister Black wants to return someday to work in WWE. That's what it means. He's not trashing anyone. He's not going after anyone. He's just like wrapping everything up, saying, being a pro, being like, yeah, I'm leaving the door open here. Aleister, the world is his oyster. Everyone wants to get that guy on his on their show. Why would you not want Aleister Black on your show? Personally, he's trumped my desire of seeing Samoa Joe in the G1. I want Aleister Black in the G1 this year. That would be my desire. I think he hits the indies. I think he hits the indies hard, like Ruby Riott, which is another heartbreaker, because this is another woman that WWE just didn't know how special she was. They didn't know how good she was. When she was picked up by NXT, she was one of the most sought after women wrestlers in North America on the independent circuit. Not because, because she was good at wrestling, because she was talented. And I swear nothing in her WWE stretch has had the opportunity to let her show what she's capable of doing. Nothing. This is another talent that they've never properly tapped. And they let her go. And she was a tag team. And she was and she had personality. And she was someone that the fans, that there was a strong contingent of fans that were behind her. It's so strange. But she, like Aleister, I think are going to hit the independent circuit really, really hard. If anything, I think Ruby has a wonderful place waiting for her in Impact Wrestling. I think she fits right in there like a glove. And she's going to have great matches. I think it's a good place for her to land. Buddy Murphy out of everyone here, well, maybe outside of Lana, I think he's the one who's benefited the most from being in WWE, because he was wrestling in Australia, in the indies over there, and you know, not many people knew who he was. He wasn't a known commodity. Now he is. He really has a following at this point. He has people who want to see him go further and try better things and be an extraordinary wrestler elsewhere. That's absolutely 100% sure. He was involved in probably one of the greatest WWE matches of all time. That 205 Live no DQ match against Mustafa, excuse me. For real. That is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in WWE. He's in an interesting position because he can go where he wants to go. He really can. And maybe he'll just like pack up and go back to Australia. I don't know. But there's a lot of options open for him as well. I don't know if he's an indie guy, but I think he's a guy who would benefit from some indie bookings, get some of that sweet indie cred. There's a lot of people, look, he wrestles the style. He wouldn't be lost. There's a lot of people out there I'm sure would like to test themselves against him. Lana's gone. Lana was a good valet. We're not going to lie here. She was good at what she did. I thought her wrestling was improving. She was, she's not, she's no Bret Hart, but she was improving. Thought she was an entertaining duo with Rusev. Look, I'm not going to lie. I really don't care what Lana does. And whatever she does, as long as she's happy, that's really all that matters. And I appreciated the tweet that she put out today. For no reason, just spontaneously off the top of my head, I want to congratulate my husband Miro on becoming the TNT champion. I was like, oh, that's a good tweet. I like that. And Miro responded back saying, yeah, I was wondering why you never congratulated me, which is weird because I go to bed with the title every night. And I was like, oh, this is good. I like that stuff. And I mean, she has a big social media presence. We'll see. Will she end up in AEW? That's what everyone's like. Well, just because her husband works there doesn't mean that she has to, And Santana Garrett, well, I mean, she's been trying so hard for so many years, and, she was called up. She had been secretly called up, and now she's released. I mean, she spent some time in NXT. She had that dreadful match against Ty Conchi on an NXT show. I think towards the end of the I think it was towards the end of the network days before it head to USA. I kind of want to feel bad for her, but also I don't. I don't know, man. She there's probably stuff behind the scenes that we don't see either, so it's hard to get a full assessment of it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But look, I don't want to go too far over into this, but a lot of people are saying, is WWE preparing for a sale? Are they going to get rid of everyone? Are they going to, what are they doing here, right? Oh, fine, I'm going to get into it. What am I talking about? Are they preparing a sale? A company who's so healthy and makes these type of cuts, financially healthy is what I mean, and makes these kind of cuts while they're hitting record profits, is usually setting up for a sale. I think it's a good reflex to have. And the environment is ready for this. The entertainment environment is ready to pick up, to make big time plays. Amazon just, a week ago, bought MGM Studios for $8.45 billion. That's a B, billion United States dollars. And WWE is making profits right now, record profits. And that's attractive to someone who wants to pick them up. Vince, though, he's a control freak. He's never handed the reins of his company to anyone. I don't know why he'd start here. WWF is his. It's his baby. He fought for it. When the government wanted to put him in jail, shut the shit down, he fought every step of the way. And you're like, well, Vince can sell and still stay in the company. Think about it for a second. if WWE sells and Vince stays, Vince is no longer the boss. He answers to someone else, right? He answers to someone on another another executive from the conglomerate that bought him out. Vince taking orders. I mean, right there is like, I think that's mind-boggling enough to say, no, of course he's not going to sell. He might want to come into like a massive deal and just be like, everything's set for life after I'm gone. But ultimately, Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics was pointing this out, and you should follow Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics, and you should subscribe to their Patreon and all of that stuff. He was, he made the exact good point, and, that the merging of the Advanced Media Group and the TV team is this is all probably linked to that, to some streamlining shit, to the new executives who are coming in, the new power structure, and they're like, hey, we got to look at our bottom line, and we've got to get rid of redundancies, and why is this guy here, and why can't this guy do that, and why can't this guy do that? Hey, let's stop talent hoarding, because it doesn't make sense. Braun probably got a really good contract because WWE was like, we can't let our people go to AEW kind of thing. So that's why he probably negotiated his contract, which is rumored to be at $1 million a year for fucking Braun Strowman, So, maybe it's just like, we can't pay these things anymore because we shouldn't be concerned about keeping talent from other wrestling organizations. I think that's ultimately maybe what a lot of executives are saying right now. Brandon Thurston pointed this out on WrestleNomics. He said, before the cuts, there were 254 wrestlers under contract. And over the past week, he measured what happened last week. There were 77 spots open across all WWE programming. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, 205 Live, main event, across all of those. 77 spots for wrestlers. Not just matches, like accompanied to the ring by. 77 spots. So that's 30% of your roster that you're using on the weekly basis. If you're using 77 spots, 77 wrestlers out of 254, that's 30% of your roster that you're using. That's not cost efficient. Now, you can argue that maybe it's 50% because of, the people who are training at the PC are included in this, that are under contract. So maybe they're not quite TV ready. The people who are injured or inactive. Fair. But still, 50%. Using 50% of your roster. What are you talking about? That's not cost effective at all. So, Brandon, his analysis is that he doesn't think WWE is gearing up for a sale. I agree with that, because on top of that, he's saying, look, I don't see any talk about it in economic trade journals, in the economic pages and websites. No one's talking about the possibility of WWE selling. And I think short term, medium term, probably not. But I'm convinced that Nick Khan was brought on board to sell WWE to someone. He unloaded the network within the first year that he was on, that he got in. Just like, no, we're selling this to Peacock. Might not be this year, but I think that they're making themselves appealing for a suitor. That seems like a good thought to me. And I agree with Brandon, but probably not selling short term. And there's always that obstacle of Vince, right? There's always that obstacle of Vince, because the idea is like, look, let's say NBC Universal, who's right now paying they're paying money, or Fox. Fox is paying $200 million a year to WWE to have their programming. It could be like, it'd be logical to think that Fox would be like, hey, you know what? Let's just let's just buy them outright instead of giving them $200 million a year for licensing fees. Let's just buy them. And sure, that can be good. But then there's the Vince factor here. There's the absolute loose cannon that is Vince McMahon here, where he could have the opposite thing. He's like, well, look, you want to buy me for $1 billion, but you're already giving me $1 billion over 5 years, and I still keep my company. So no, Vince, this is all he knows how to do. He doesn't take vacations. He doesn't take days off. Vince works. That's all he does. It's his baby. And like I said, why would Vince? Do you think sincerely that Vince would sell the company and be like, I'm staying on board, and he'd have to answer to someone? Come on. It's a fascinating scenario, but I think what we're seeing is the beginning of, we're polishing the silver here. I think that's what we're doing. We're polishing the silver to put it up for sale. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen in 2021. Might not even happen in 2022. But the environment, as far as streaming content, it is ripe for these types of deals. It really is. Anakin left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. Let's read it. He says, any WWE sale is pointless if Vince still controls creative and booking. Sure, but hey, you know what? Like I said, on top of that, it's so hard to fathom that Vince would relent control to anyone. You know what I mean? Like he just abandon control to anyone or answer to someone. Vince McMahon being someone's subordinate. It doesn't make sense. Peter Davies left us a super chat as well. Thank you very much, Peter. He says, in my opinion, AEW should do everything they can to get Mickie James and Ruby, two experienced great workers who would make the division better. Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing but great talent that was released. Mickie James would also be a fantastic learning partner as well. She'd be a great help with the younger talent backstage. But I think Mickey's going to NWA. Like, my money is on Mickie showing up at their pay-per-view this weekend. I really do. And Ruby, yeah, I mean, both of them. They would be welcome additions. Absolute welcome additions. And we're going to wrap up with Wrestling Plug Inc. Pluggo left us a super chat. Thank you very much. It says, Warren, take your shirt off. Oops, wrong stream. Yeah. As Pluggo has his wife goes on stream and asks him to get nude. And as we're wrapping up, I want to say hello to Cyclops is better than Wolverine, who jumped in here towards the end. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone joining me live this evening on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And as we record Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, if you like the video, do consider giving it a thumbs up. If this is your first time here, hey, hope you enjoyed it enough to subscribe to the channel or leave a review on your favorite podcast app. That'd be really neat. I'd really appreciate that. But I appreciate you coming out regardless. And if you want to become a member, it's the Mr. Warren Hayes Show YouTube channel. It's a good time to do it tonight, because I'm going to be starting up the post stream in just a few minutes, and we are going to be talking about Double or Nothing. I want to hear what you guys thought about Double or Nothing. So be sure to join me. Thank you all so much for popping in this evening. We'll see you next time.